thanks for sitting down with me, man.
Heck yeah,
I
thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
Your writing, your artistry, your creativity has shaped modern country music for the past 10 years. We're super pumped to hear about your new album today.
Appreciate it.
I want to dive into all the songs, but first, tell us the album name, and then what's one thing you want the fans to know above all else?
It's a good question. The new album name is Ed and Mary Margaret's Son, and obviously that's my parents, and this album means a ton to me. And I think the first thing that I want people to know, the fans to know, I guess really is two things. All these songs are brand new. Coming off of Tennessee Truth just a couple months ago, I started working and writing and getting creative and writing these songs by myself. And so to know, to let the fans in on my creative process, and these songs are the most authentic songs I've ever put out because I wrote them all by myself.
Yeah.
And so I just love the timeline of the creation to getting these songs out to the world, to the fans, is so quick. And I think that's super unique. I don't know many people that are doing that. And I just wanted to capture this time frame of life right after the album. This record caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting to get into album making mode so quick, but I was just doing what I've always done, which was starting songs by myself, getting ideas. And typically I'd save these certain ideas and get half songs started and pinpoint certain writers that I want to finish them with, and that I think they'd bring, this idea, this song or this title to the next level. But I got really curious with my craft and wanted to just see if I could finish them myself, and just thought it was a different take on what I've been doing. I love co-writing. It's definitely shaped me as a writer, and definitely, had a lot of success doing it. But this was just a different project, man. And so just digging deep into who I am, my heart, my soul, and just, even more so falling in love with songwriting through this process, even where I'm at in my career. So that's what I would want fans to know, the time frame, and that I wrote all these songs by myself.
Yeah, I really want to dive into the solo write portion. I've never been in a writing room. Most of the people watching haven't. So to give us some context, what is it normally like when you're writing a song in Nashville? You're on Zoom, you're in person. What is a normal writing process like?
Yeah, if you're in a writer's room or a house or a studio, you've got 2, 3, 4 guys in there. And, the first 20, 30 minutes typically is catching up, get some coffee made, just being personable and just talking about life, just catching up. Sometimes you get into it quicker if somebody's coming in with an idea that's hot off the press. They're fired up, ready to go. But typically it's kind of chilling. Sometimes it's meeting new people, new co-writers, which I love. I love, my go-tos and friends and songwriter buddies I've known for years, and I also love writing with new people. So sometimes it's meeting them and just getting to know them a little bit and just letting down all the walls and just making it human, I think, which is really important for the creative element, is just stripping all that down and making that each room that you're in normal and fun, and a place where you can just open up and be yourself, whether you're going through a breakup or having the time of your life or whatever it may be. I think you just need to make that room, whatever room you're in, just kind of homey and fun. And then really it's off to the races. Everybody in the room, I feel like for the most part, starts chiming in with, hey, I got an idea. Or it usually starts with, hey, I got an idea. Or if you're writing for an artist or with an artist, or if we're trying to write for me, it's, it starts with a question. Hey, what are you feeling right now? What are you looking for? Do you have anything that you brought in? And so you're kind of ping-ponging back and forth with content, titles, ideas. But my favorite way to write, whether I'm writing by myself or in a group, is to know where we're going, is to have an idea. Even if the idea changes a little bit, I think if I can lock into, a title, for me it's easier to put more of myself into a song when I know where I'm going. I think there's also times where I call it magic, when you just land on the hook and you've been writing this song, you've got the verse, pre-chorus, you've got the majority of the chorus, and you don't really know where you're going. That takes a different kind of thought and process, I think, to let it unravel, to say, well, what are we really trying to say? Mm-hmm. But if you've got the title and you've got the idea, that's my favorite way to write, but it doesn't always go that way. And so, typically, if we're writing a song, just going back and forth. And I think the special thing about collaborating is, those people in that room that you're collaborating with, I, as an artist, songwriter, I want to know what they have to say too. I think that's the the cool part about collaboration. It's like, well, how would you sing that? What's that melody look like? And maybe I can go back and forth with that. Sometimes it's me, hey, I think it should sound like this, or sometimes it's a waiting game. I think sometimes songwriting, collaborating, co-writing, you want to be patient and just let that idea develop. And sometimes that's just through, talking about it. I like to sometimes, if I'm in a room, just talk about it, talk about the idea. And just before we start getting down a road that's too serious and too, in stone of the idea, it's just like, well, how can what's the best, last two lines what's the best two lines right before the hook that we could say? Sometimes starting there. Sometimes it starts with a verse, groove on an acoustic guitar. Somebody's got a little guitar lick. But ideas when you're collaborating and co-writing are coming from everybody in the room for the most part, most of the time. So it's just, I think when you lock on to a line or a melody that everybody in the room agrees on, you're like, sick. Next, let's move on to the next line. And that's kind of in stone, and that's what it is. So it's a group effort, and that's what makes it so special, because you've got people in the room, guys, girls, who have, maybe it's all country influence, or it's pop, it's rock, they're coming from an indie world, they're coming from a different state, a different part of the country, a different part of the world, people from the UK, people coming from California, coming from all over, people that live here in Nashville that have moved here. So that's what makes co-writing special to me, is you're getting all these different voices and different truths in the room that, they might say a truth that you've lived in a different way that makes a song special. So I think it's just, you've got your feelers out, you've got your ears wide open, you've got your thinking cap on, and you're trying to suss out, how do we make something new that doesn't already exist? How do we say it different? How do we create different melodies? And it's just, I kind of, in a sense, put on my hard hat and go to work when we're writing. It's fun, but it's a lot of brain power to navigate through, the millions of songs that all songwriters, artists, humans have been exposed to. And how do we run a route that sounds different, that looks different, that is different, that's real, that people can connect to, that, at the end of the day, we're proud of.
Yeah. Was it challenging to not have that back and forth, or was it freeing? Like, how did you feel approaching the album this way?
I thought it was kind of freeing, just doing it by myself. And, from the moment I started that first song, I got it halfway done and I go, well, I'm just going to finish this and see what happens. From that moment on, I just released any time restraints on each song, on this project, and said, if I write a song, if I spend 6 hours on it, 7 hours, 8 hours at the kitchen table, and I don't finish it, that's okay. It's only going to get better, and it's only going to make more sense to me to figure out how to write it if I allow time to do that. So some songs were quicker, and then some songs took a week of, having the meat and the bones there, but really trying to land the hook properly and try to just find words and themes and lyrics and melodies that were just me and different. And I just took it as a challenge, a fun challenge, and it was really enjoyable, man. Just not having to feel like I have a certain session that I have to leave with the song. That was completely freeing, and just like, it's okay if a song takes a week.
Yeah,
that's what makes it special, because you've put the time in. I think developing ideas on this project was essential, was key, was my main point of. That's why I did it by myself. There wasn't any outside voices or any outside influence, and so I think it just comes back to authenticity and hard work and just digging deep.
Yeah, you talk about that authenticity. One thing we see throughout every track is, with there not being any co-writers, we see how proud you are to be Ed and Mary Margaret's son, right?
Yeah.
When you look at your life, your family, what did Ed contribute to who Brian Kelley is, and what did Mary Margaret contribute to who Brian Kelley is today?
That's a good question. There's so much, obviously, being their son, so much of both of them in who I am. I definitely get my sweet side from my mom, just giggly and silly and lighthearted. And my dad has that too, but, I definitely get the grind mentality from my dad. He's 81 years old and
Is he really? He
Yeah,
looks great.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt
Yeah,
you,
I know
but-
it's crazy. It's wild, and so just he's always worked his butt off. You know, from the time he was 6, 7, 8 years old, running paper routes, making more than his dad. That was my poppy, who was working for the U.S. Postal Service. You know, starting T-shirt companies, working for Hawaiian Tropic, and my dad being involved with, you know, city commissioner, county chair, mayor of Ormond Beach, and just always working. And both of them have such big hearts, and they're both givers, and they're both family oriented. They're just special people, and I'm so glad that they're my parents. I always have said, from as long as I can remember, I'm just so lucky to be their son. And yeah, they're helpful, they're caring, and so, you know, I'm just a blend of both of them,
Yeah.
obviously. You
Yeah.
know?